Chuck doesn't like dust. So what Chuck did was he went to his neighbor's who has a bandsaw. And he cut that along the template. So what we're going to do is when we go to put filler on this, just to make it the right shape before fiberglassing, I'm going to use this as a spreader. Just run that along there, and it'll work just like a scree on concrete. So we'll get a consistent shape, and then when it's time to sand, put some sandpaper on that, and then we'll, like a long block, and we will have a symmetrical, even curve all the way along. Okay, the last time we left off, my phone card had been completely full, so I had no memory. So we had to miss the part where we skimmed this and put a little bit of a little more filler on it, and then I used the block that we cut with some sandpaper here. Ran it this way to block sand it. Used 80 grit. You can see by the scratch when you get really close. You can also see there were some low spots. So late start today, but the first thing I'm going to do is fill these low spots. I'm going to use a contour gauge to make sure that I'm the same contour from side to side. We're going to get the filler all smoothed out. Once the filler is smoothed out, then we can put fiberglass over it. We could put fiberglass over it now and then smooth it after, but I've always been an advocate of getting the shape right first before doing the finishing, so that's what we're going to do. A little bit there has to be filled in, a little bit there has to be filled in. You can see that. Just little bits of filler here and there. So that's what's going to happen on the hood scoop. Okay, so this is the contour gauge I was telling you about. Straighten it up. Let's get it all even. So it's fairly flat. Maybe I'll do it on this. There we go. Get it all flat. Now this should be the same from side to side, simply because so you just push it down, it gives you the contour, right? So there should be the same as there, and look at that, it is pretty damn close to the same. We got a little bit on the bottom. Why is that? Oh, no, it's there too. Okay, so I'll just push you down a little further, get you solid. You're right at the inside edge of that. Okay, so that's good. Now, so we know that the block worked because that was pretty straight. But where I wanted to get it is up these sides here. I want to make sure it's the same. So I'm going to go from the corner of the headlight over. Push it down. Come on. Come on. There we go. Okay, so that's that. Now, from the corner of the headlight. Oops. Okay, so we need to come up a little bit. Sorry, pen, bad videography. So we need to come up a little bit. It looks like right. See how I've left it a little long on the ends there? That's to hook into the headlight and to the end of this. So we are low there. And we are a little low. I do mean a little low there. So I'm going to mark this as low. So definitely low there. So now I'm going to go a little higher up. See where we are. Straighten you all out again. I know, this is boring stuff, isn't it? But it's pretty important stuff. You want to get this stuff straight. Because if you don't get it straight, it's just, you can always kind of tell, right? Okay, so I'm going to go up here, about halfway. Push you down again, get you tight to the bottom. Okay, because I like this shape on the side. Now we'll flip it over. We're at about this height here. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. Look at that. So we've got this contour right. So let's go here. Where does the low start? Let's go about an inch up. Push it down. There we go. So we're about that far up. Okay. So about that far up. Okay, so we are low in the middle, right here. Okay, so we're going to mark that again. Sorry about that. Again, bad videography. Okay, so we need to fill this area here. This area here is low. Straighten out. See where we are. So there's at the top. That's about 2.5, 3 inches up. Okay. 2.5, 3 inches up. Okay, yeah. So we just need to fill this low in here. We need to fill this low in here, and these, and we are symmetrical. You guys have no idea how happy I am about that. Excuse me. I have, as Kermit would say, I have a human in my throat. Yeah, that is amazing to me that we got it straight like that. One other thing I want to check is this angle. Let's get these straight again. Come on. Come on. Come on. There you go. There. Perfect. Straight. I want to see this angle on a 45. So there. Okay. Okay, so we are low here. So this is low here. And I like this shape on this side. So I'm going to bring this up, this up, this up, that little bit there. And we are golden. Okay, to work. I'm not going to show you when I mix Bondo because it's messy. I don't want to get the phone dirty. And also, it's really, really, really boring. And so I'm just going to go on. By the way, bit of word of advice for you. I've been married in March 25 years. And I must tell you, if you are in love with a redhead, set her free. If she returns to you, sets up a tent in your front yard, sends you threatening phone calls, and puts your new girlfriend in the hospital, she's yours. We'll talk to you again in a bit. Okay, the filler's on. You can see I filled all the areas that were low. And then what I've done is to avoid wasting a bunch of sandpaper, I took some sticky, this is 80 grit, and I cut it. It's basically for a long block. I cut it to the length I need on this, and I cut it to the width I need on this, and that way we won't waste, because sandpaper adds up. And then yeah, sanding block across here. This is just past sticky, but still kind of feeling the warmth. I like to do it then, because what it does is it opens it up, it cures it faster, plus it lets you knock down the highs a lot easier. So we're going to run this just like we did before, but I'm probably not going to hold the phone anymore because, quite frankly, it's... Oh, well, here, I'll get Chuck to do it. There we go. All the boring blocking is over, and we've got this. Actually, I may as well show it, because we have been checking when I've been blocking. This has been going from there to there, and on this side It's pretty close. It's close enough that because I'm putting a layer of fiberglass over. And then this, obviously with the block on it, set it there, 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 and there. Plus when we run on the 45, push that down a bit, run on the 45 there. This one here is a little bit out. Actually, it's not. It's pretty much perfect. So, yeah, so surprises, surprises. We're going to put a skim of fiberglass over this right away. I'm going to grind back this little bit of gel coat here. But before I do that, I want to get the inside of this, because that's all rough. And that's all rough. I want to get that as good as I have the outside. Hood's up. We did I slapped a bunch of filler on the inside to make it smooth to match the outside. It's not smooth yet, obviously, but it will be when I sand it. And then that'll give me a chance to match these curves too, because I kind of filled that in. Make everything all happy and wonderful and pretty. Okay, we got the inner done. It's not as rough as it looks. It doesn't have to be perfectly smooth because we're putting fiberglass over it. But rounded the edges off so no sharp edges. Got the curve symmetrical. The outside was already symmetrical, remember that. But we got the inside done. So now the hood's ready for glass, so we're going to glass that. So we've got the Bondo looking good as we showed you. So I'm going to try and lay this out as one piece here. Cut the fiberglass. This is the raw cloth, and that way I don't have any seams when I put the glass over. What I'm going to do is actually put filament fiberglass, the actual net, as opposed to this and to the mat, and that'll reinforce the edge. And then we've got one piece here. I'll probably do a double layer of it, and then we'll also have more along the underside. So I'm going to cut it down, and I'm going to first layer of glass on. Okay, so we've got some of the filament tape. Well, it's filament fiberglass. And as you can see, we've got a bunch more stuff cut for in here. So again, if you're building a GTM, you know how to fiberglass, so you pretty much know what I'm going to do. I'm going to mix up resin, I'm going to spread it on the surface first, then I'm going to spread it on the fiberglass, and I'm going to stick it all in, and I'm going to get myself all messy. So when this is done, we should see a layer of fiberglass. There's no real structure to this, so we're probably only going to do a single layer over this because it's not, there's a structure underneath. We haven't really cut anything away. So it's just to encapsulate everything, and then we're going to do bodywork over top of it. It's just to general strength, but it's not going to get a whole lot of torque or twist on it. So we'll get away with putting a little bit less structure on than you normally would. Normally you'd want at least 2, if not 3 layers of fiberglass, but we should be good here. I'm just going to make sure I reinforce these edges so they don't chip, and the rest of it, yeah, should be good. Okay, so we've got the first layer of glass on the extractor vent, and yes, I know it's fuzzy, but that'll be taken care of. Again, you can see it doesn't want to bend around corners too terribly well, so that's going to come on a second layer. I am going to put a second layer on here. Well, we have to come around the corner here and here. It's a little sticky. It's mostly done. General cleanup. You may have noticed I actually ground below the gel coat, so this would have something to adhere to. And yeah, we got glass on this thing. I can't believe it. It's finally getting done. Once this thing is fully kicked, I'm going to put a skim of body filler over it and pretty much leave it. It's done. Now, my reputation for neatness precedes me. Chuck's laying down paper underneath where I'm going to be doing second layer of fiberglass on all the edges. He took the fuzz down. Nice job on it too, actually. And he's got a string out, and he put the wheels on, and we're looking at them and we're thinking, wow, those actually look pretty good. And then we realized they're completely and totally not aligned. So once we do a wheel alignment, I might have to cut and paste the wheel wells a la Shane's instructions. But the other thing is, if you look down the wheel well, it's about 1/4 of an inch inboard there. It's, when we measured it, it's this side is in considerably further than this side, which actually sticks out. And you can see it there. So we're going to deal with that as well down the road. What we're tossing about doing, and anybody can change my mind if they wish to, was run a cut along the seam out here, move the whole fender out, and then this here, slice it in there along the top and move this out as well, and then fill the gap in. The other alternative was to make a bunch of sunray type cuts all the way around and spread this. But I don't like the idea of that many cuts, just begging for a crack. I'd rather do one cut, and then if it cracks, well, there's less chance of it cracking. Also because of the radial stresses on this too. So anyway, there's that to do. So add it to the list. But right now, we're going to finish glassing this damn thing up because I've been postponing and postponing and postponing doing this because of the window. Yay! So now we're going to get the hood finished. Dabbing all the air bubbles out. Look at that. Perfect mix. 4 ounces for the whole scoop for the second. Well, 2 ounces twice, just so I had kick time. And this is why it gets fuzzy, because I dabbed it. Got it over the whole edge. We've got now 3 layers over the lip, so that should be lots. And I've got more hair on my fingertips than I have on my back. So we got second coat, well actually third layer of fiberglass on all the lips, and second all the way around. Chuck did some filming of me doing it, just that end there that got a little hairy. That end is hanging down below. I'm going to slice that off. But for the most part it went on beautifully. To do just this edge, I used 4 ounces of resin. I use lots of resin because that way you make sure you have no air bubbles. You know, it'll always come out. So, and while we're here, we have a special guest. This is Harley. Oh, Harley hates the camera. Where are you going, Harley? And yes, he is that big because this thing is up on jack stands. Harley, come here. No? Ha, gotcha. Oh, this is hilarious. We're just going to chase the dog around the car. But don't you, dog? You hate this thing. How high up off the ground is your car? Harley, come here. Come on. Chuck's going to use a blow dryer to kick this a little quicker. And then once it's warmed up, as long as we don't overheat it, once it's warmed up, I can give it a quick once over with the DA, and I can throw some Bondo on it before I go away for Christmas. So we'll warm it up, and then I'll take the dog for a walk, and then I'll come back and we'll get the hood scoop done. Just the fuzz. I did not actually sand the fiberglass down. All I do is take the fuzz off. And we've got the contour gauge out here. There. There. I'd say we got a little lucky here. Then I'm going to check the 45s to the headlight here. We're in there. So here, that's as close as damn is to swearing. I'm going to run this one in here from this corner. Okay. Right in there. Oops. There we go. Okay, so we're getting lucky here. I love this contour gauge. It's going to give me an ego problem though. Let's try one right in here. There we go. And flip it over and... yeah, I think we're good with that. So a little bit of filler on. I got to take some fuzz off the underside yet. But I think that's good for Bondo. What do you think? Is that close enough for you, or should I try and get a little closer?
I think we're good.
Alrighty.
I think you're good.
Yeah, that's what she said. Less sanding. Got it, buddy. He does Bondo in a single pass. It's just sickening. So to apply it, you want to be as smooth as you can, obviously. Sharp angle like this, or shallow angle like this, lays it on. Sharp angle like this, pulls it off. So you can get yourself a nice, easy feather, which makes for easier sanding down the road.
Classic Rock, K96.3, and another 40-minute classic rock block from the
Over.
Combat Rock.
I like to be as smooth as I can, just to inside radii are a bit of a nightmare. And I mixed the Bondo a little hot too. All about production, don't you know? Mix it hot, sand it when it's still a little wet, so you can knock the highs down. Helps it cure faster. So basically you take a sander to it with 80 or 100 grit, usually 80 grit's what I'd recommend, when it's just tack free. Don't let it dry, because it's a lot harder to sand. And then what you do is you just take off the worst of the highs, use a wire brush to keep your paper clean, and you'll find that your sanding time drops dramatically. Okay, so now on this bigger area I'm going to go with a bigger paddle. Although there's not a lot of material left here, I used up most of it in the inners. Okay, now that is just starting to kick. So I can force it really thin just into the lows, but I can't use it where it's going to be sanded properly. So I'm just going to use it almost like a putty now, and that way when the next coat of proper Bondo goes over it, the worst of the holes are filled. Just a little trick I learned on preserving material instead of wasting it. So you put it in lots of pressure, sharp angle, and all you're doing then is you're filling the lows. See? I haven't raised the level of this at all. All I've done is I filled in between the strands of glass. And I've got about another 20 seconds and this is done. Oh, if that. Yeah, this is done. But that's all the waste I got out of that full thing. So, plus that bit on my shoe. So this is the way the stuff's supposed to go on. That little niggly area down there was fussy and little. This way, these big areas here, you can just take a nice sweep at. And give yourself a nice smooth pass. You never get really, well, sometimes you might get it in one, but when you're actually trying for bodywork like this, pretty tough to get it in one. I prefer to get it in 2 passes anyways. I'll get 1 pass, get it more or less smooth, sand it down a little bit, find the low spots and fill them. How's that for guessing how much I'd need? News with personality. Isn't that called an editorial?
Years, a lot of different countries. Been up near the base camp of Mount Everest. Worked in a kibbutz in Israel for 6 months. Was an optical improvement engineer in Australia for 6 months. That's a winter washer. The valley's most
There we go.
Optical improver, eh?
Optical improvement engineer as a window washer. Kind of like that, eh?
It's bonus time.
There.
Reap the rewards this Christmas with gift cards.
And this should almost be at a point. That's close. Be ready to sand it by the time I'm done cleaning this board off.
Bonus card on every 100. A $200 card for the mother-in-law and keep the $50 bonus. Your little secret. Available in store now through Christmas.
Presto won't like this. Don't think I'm doing this too early, but sure knocked it down beautifully. Clean the schmoog out. Like this. And if you're going to sand it when it's this wet, no pressure. It's only the weight of the paper and block going over it. As soon as you put pressure on it, it chunks. There we go. Now it's perfect. Look at that. Especially up here where there's this big block, fresh paper. That is one thing about doing it early, is you will go through a ton of paper. It's worth it. Trust me, it's worth it. Here's what I'm talking about. If you look in here, that's 100 grit. See, that is now just, it's still soft, I can still feel heat in it, but it's tack free. So all I do is I go over it with this now, and look how fast it knocks everything down smooth. Well, you can see here, see ridge there? It used to be like this, and now it's like this after just like a few passes. Clogs up your sandpaper just a little bit, but you clean it out and you save yourself a ton of time. Plus, now that we've opened the pores of this, it's going to cure more quickly. Last shot of the hood before Christmas. We put filler on it. I don't know if Chuck got that video or not, but there's filler on it. I was talking when I was applying it, so hope he got it, because otherwise you guys don't get serenaded by the dulcet tones of my voice. And this was blocked down with 100 grit, which is just not quite coarse enough. So I went to an 80 grit when it was still wet, and as it dried, you can then apply more pressure to it and get it smoother. A couple of low spots, a couple of high spots, but it's only the first coat, so we're still shaping it.